everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Kwentong GK for 2022. And this evening, we have the pleasure of talking to our GK leadership. Both Gawad Kalinga Philippines and Gawad Kalinga USA are represented here in our first Kwentuhan on Kwentong GK for 2022. So Tito June, Dr. June Raffinan is our Gawad Kalinga USA chairman. Any message for our volunteers? Anything you'd like to share just to kick us off this evening?
Yes. Good evening, all. Good evening, all. First,
Go ahead.
Good evening, all, to all of you. My belated Happy New Year for the year 2022. We hope and pray that this will be a very progressive, safe, healthy, productive 2022. 2021 was a very challenging year. I will try to be very brief on my message tonight so that we can all share the different messages to all our partners and sponsors and the volunteers. First and foremost, I want to thank you all, GK USA Board, the directors, the sponsors, partners, and volunteers for giving the privilege of being part of this great organization. I've been with GK for over 15 years, close to 20 years now, since 1998. My first experience in GK was a visit to Bagong Silang in Tondo, the poorest barrio of GK that was transformed into a very prosperous and happy village. I am proud and humbled to say that GK USA is one of the living organizations to help eradicate poverty in our motherland, the Philippines. We have provided shelters for the homeless, not only for the homeless, but also for the persons with disability. We have also helped eradicate poverty in our motherland. We feed thousands of hungry children and responded to numerous natural calamities and disasters like typhoon, earthquakes, starting from the biggest typhoon, Yolanda, and up to the present time, Typhoon Odette. We also have responded to the needs of the coronavirus. We are very thankful and look closely in working with GKCD5, the Philippines, of course, which is our primary beneficiary. In a brief message to you, I will try to be very brief, that with the multiple platforms that we have in GK USA, I'll just stress a few of them. We have participated in the Hungry Warriors, Kusina ng Kalinga, who fed thousands of children since it was established in 2019. We have funded several K&K kitchens, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, and provided over 180,000 meals. We also participated in the GK National Feeding Day, December 2020, which we feed 7,800 children in different K&K kitchens. GK USA is a big part of building over 2,000 GK villages and communities in the Philippines. My wife and I, together with the GKUSA delegation, recently was up close and personal to see the children victims of war conflict in Marawi, which was a very heartwarming and a blessing experience. On the multiple platforms they have, GKUSA also has helped in the farming through our seed program. GK has sponsored several seed scholars. We have about 64 scholars in Bulacan, Bukidnon, and in Samar. There are many, many things that GKUSA has been very blessed and has been a very strong partner with GKCD5. And thanks to the leadership of GKCD5 with Luis and Dan. And I want to thank also my executive committee and the board. We have really been progressive and continue to do things. In the future, and most recently, our biggest dream, and this sounds to be a very historical event this coming February 19. For the first time, GKUSA is excited to be part sponsor of the GK Youth Summit in Orlando, which is organized by the FSA, the Filipino Student Association, in UCF, which is University of Central Orlando. This has been our dream for a long, long time. And this will be a legacy that will connect us to the young generation. And we hope with this GKU that we are going to form next month will be a platform to the young Filipino students in the different universities in the United States. My message to all of us tonight as chairman of GK, to all the sponsors, volunteers, and donors, continue and pray and be proud and take ownership to be part of the GKUSA Noble Mission. Thank you very much, and walang iwanan. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Donna. I can't hear her.
Donna, you're on mute.
Okay.
Yan, dami ko na sinabi. Thank you, Tito, for that message, and that really sets the tone for us. And you know, in our discussion this evening, thank you for some of the updates that you had shared with us. We will talk more about those updates as we talk to Maricel and Dan as well. Maricel is our Gawad Kalinga USA Executive Director, and Dan Bercasio is our Gawad Kalinga Executive Director based in the Philippines. So we are super excited to hear from you and what's going on and what updates and you know what you can share about our efforts, especially in the last quarter of last year. You know, when the Tito June mentioned Typhoon Odette and how we have mobilized resources to help the most vulnerable in the Philippines. So whoever, maybe we can start, whoever wants to start, huwag kayong magunahan. Whoever wants to start first.
The gentleman first.
Kala ko magja-jack and poy pa kayong dalawa.
Okay. Good morning. From the Philippines, Tito June, Donna, Maricel, and sa lahat po na kasama namin yan. And all of you here who are watching, first and foremost, again from in behalf of Gawad Kalinga Philippines, we would like to thank all of you for all your support through the years, particularly as we went through the challenges of COVID-19. and now Typhoon Odette. Well, Donna said that we should share with you what has happened in the last quarter. For us, pandemic is already a given, and being visited on the average of about 20 typhoons a year is already a given for the Philippines. But while they are a given, we believe that we should not give in, because we are talking about, of the 5 million poor families in the Philippines, around 3.7 million are farmers and fisher folks. So while yung statistics na yan, we get used to it, but at the end of the day, if we look deeper into the statistics, a lot of our countrymen are being pulled deeper into poverty because of these givens. For instance, because of Typhoon Odette, we had the government said the damage to agriculture was 16 billion pesos. 16 billion. And the aid that came in was just about 1 billion pesos. So anong nangyari? The gap is so wide, and if we go around the different affected areas, most of those that cannot easily stand up and rebuild their lives are the poor farmers and fisher folks. That is why we appreciate so much how GKUSA is supporting our move in not just providing relief or roof, because they are very important. They provide stability and hope. But more importantly, we don't just give out relief goods, but we help these families build resiliency by creating communities around them, by encouraging local volunteers and connecting them with Filipinos abroad and friends of Filipinos, so that when the next typhoon comes, because there will be 20 next year, they'll be stronger and more resilient and more hopeful. But more importantly, also incorporating and also acknowledging that because of climate change, typhoons are getting stronger, because when climatic forces passes through Pacific Ocean, if they are hotter or warmer, typhoons become much more stronger. But at the same time, because of what you're doing, and I love what Tito June announced a while ago, that we're also building up the youth in the US, because we also need to build up more warm bodies, and we need to connect to each other to consolidate the warmth of our heart, so that we could help more Filipinos get out of poverty. Maraming salamat po.
Yan. Thank you. Maricel, you're on mute. I will be next. Thank you, Dan, for setting the stage. I guess, obviously acknowledging and being grateful for the support Gawad Kalinga and Gawad Kalinga USA have been receiving, but also acknowledging that there is still so much more to be done, right? There's still so much help that is needed, diba? So because this is not a one-time, the typhoons and such, these natural calamities are not, are not one-time things. They happen all the time, like you mentioned, right? And it becomes even more important for us to, not only to solicit help or resources or support when the typhoon strikes, but really have a system in place so that we don't have to, to scramble to get those resources. They're always going to be available, right? Because it's just, typhoons just are going to happen year in and year out, right? So, but before I go to Maricel, I want to acknowledge some of our friends who are logging in and saying hello to everybody. Okay. So, Tito Charlie, Dr. Carlos Capati says, hello, good evening to all. Thank you, Tito Charlie, for tuning in. From June Tomantay, good evening. Greetings from GK Tampa. Diba? Very DJ in dating ko ngayon. O, diba? From Luz Sapin Micabalo, hello everyone. PACF is donating for Typhoon Odette. PACF sending donation to GK One Bond Foundation for victims of Typhoon Odette. Yan. And then from Dulce Rivera, good evening, fellow GK advocates. From Eva Domantay, hey Tampa team, our great GK Tampa Bay leader, Tito Dr. June. O, diba? May fans, si Tito June. How to be you po, ayan. Way to go, Dr. June, Tito Charlie says. And then, dami Luz Happy Mikabala says, hello Maricel, Soledad Montilla, good evening from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Alexander Fangon, I hope I did not butcher your last name. Alex Fangonel watching from Gaithersburg, Maryland. Jules Malawis Pantanares, good evening po. Good morning po. I guess she's calling from the Philippines or watching from the Philippines. John Harin, hi John, says, what did she say? Good evening everyone. Tita Charlie Dan, can you please discuss goodbye gutom? Okay. Pag-isipan mo muna yung sagot mo dyan, Dan. I'll switch over to Maricel for now. Just so, you know, we keep on the topic at hand. All right, Maricel, go ahead. Please share with us initial thoughts and then we'll have a conversation.
Okay. Dan was talking about the disaster relief, including COVID. So we were still grappling with COVID when Typhoon Odette hit. But we already know that yung mga disasters, usually they become galvanizing events. So people come together. And actually, when COVID first hit, we were thinking, they cautioned us against asking for donations because that might be a bit insensitive because everyone was suffering from COVID. But, you know, instead of shrinking, the donations grew from 2019 to 2021. So parang maybe people paused and also reflected and increased their giving. At kaya parang nakakataba ng puso malaman na pag talagang meron urgency, there's a surge in generosity. So that's something positive. But my wish is actually for us to realize that poverty is also a disaster, even if it's man-made. So we can feel that same sense of urgency about the mission that GK has. So over the past 2 years, when we were experiencing all these challenging times, even the foundations and the individuals who were giving to GK increased their giving, and new donors also emerged. So that's something positive, I think. I believe na these disasters can bring out the best in us, can touch our hearts to give. So, and then also, hindi lang sa numbers nung nakikita natin na pera, but there are stories from the ground that maybe Dan would have more stories. Pero I remember at the start of COVID, Father Ben was telling us that the way or the manner in which we gave assistance was a reflection of how we were able to develop relationships with the barangays. Kasi ang hirap-hirap noon with the restrictions in movements. But because we had good relationships with these barangays, nakapunta ata sila Dan sa port area, kahit na medyo restricted noon. Tapos nung COVID din, parang the poor are teaching us how to love. Kasi yung villages ata sa Pasig, I think Dan, you sent some aid to GK communities, but the next, siguro on the third day that you were sending help, they pointed you to another community, not GK, sa kabilang sabi nila doon po wala po sila, nagugutom po sila, sila nakakain na. So parang those are the words of Father Ben when he told me, Maricel, the poor are teaching us to love. Parang hindi sila talaga makasarili. Tapos itong nun Odette, the victims or the teams in Bicol were spearheading, I think, the efforts to reach Visayas and Mindanao from Sorsogon. The former victims are now paying it forward. I also want to honor the ground workers kasi naalala ko, I was messaging my Balatay on Facebook, sina Karen, because I wanted to find out about Siargao and Bohol. Dun daw sa Talibon, it's a remote area in Bohol. They weren't able to communicate. Pati daw yung barangay did not have communications. They sent someone to go on a motorbike to reach these people. So talagang makita mo yung caring and sharing, not just among the volunteers of GK or the ground workers, but really the people themselves, the affected, the poor. So yun yung tungkol sa Odette. I don't know if you have other questions.
Yeah, I'm glad you wrapped up with that. I want to encourage everyone to to send in their questions. Just comment on the Facebook Live post that's going on right now. So just write your questions in the comments section for any one of us here. Yung sa akin, wag lang math ha. Mahina ako sa math, kaya ako nag-math ko. No, I mean, seriously, Tito Jun is here, our GK chairman, GK USA chairman, Maricel Villanueva is our GK USA executive director, and Dan Bercasio, Gawad Kalinga, executive director in the Philippines. Take this opportunity to ask questions or to send your comments or messages or anything that you'd like to share with us. Even though there's only 4 of us, you can see on the screen right now, this is really a conversation, among all of us volunteers and advocates for the poor, right? So let's take this opportunity to, to really engage with each other, right? And get as much information as we want to get and as much information as we can actually provide this evening. Diba? So we only, we're going to put a hard stop at 7:45 for my time. I'm on Central, which is 5:45 Pacific, because I understand, I think Dan and Maricel have another Zoom call. So we have about 20 minutes, right? To just, put in your questions and we will try to answer them. So there's so many things to unpack in what you shared, Maricel, and it really also inspires me how, with this pandemic, parang nagkaroon ng tinatawag nilang hashtag, millennial, hashtag gratitude movement, right? But I also want to believe that there is a hashtag caring movement, no? Because I think all of a sudden people realize just how blessed they are, right? That even though we are all in this going through this pandemic, I always say, right, we're going through the same storm, but we're not on the same boat, right? So you realize just how lucky you are when you look at other people who actually have it worse, right? And so because of that gratitude, I'd like to think that it also spurs a feeling of needing to care for other people, because you have you have it much better. Your situation is much better than a lot of people, right? And so I'd like to think that Gawad Kalinga USA are here to facilitate, the need for those people to care, right? For our own need, na hindi kailangan sabihin sa atin, we don't need to be asked, right? We don't need to be solicited from, but we just have that, parang something that compels us to share, right? And to care because we have it, our situation is much better than many other people, right? All right, so Dan, Tito Charlie Kapati, Dr. Kapati is asking about goodbye gutom, because obviously, with the pandemic, and if I may just connect it also, with the pandemic, there's so many people who, could not work, right? And who lost their jobs. And so they are not able to provide for their families, especially, again, the most vulnerable, the poor families. They're not able to provide, something to eat, something to put food on the table because wala nga trabaho. So can you discuss about, goodbye gutom and how that might be helping with that, even though, that was actually launched even before the pandemic started. Is that right, Dan?
Yes, thank you, Tito Charlie, for the question. Now, hunger has always been a challenge in the Philippines, even before the pandemic. That's why the campaign is really to, because perhaps we have become kumbaga, became insensitive dahil yung statistics nandiyan lagi. The SWS surveys says millions of kids go hungry. Even the UNICEF last year said that 95 Filipino children die of hunger and malnutrition every day. So that's a scandal for us. No? That's why we approach it two-pronged. First is just like what have Father been telling us, if you could feed one, that's already a big thing. Because when we talk about the brain development of children, we need to address hunger and malnutrition early on. So it's just beyond giving out. It's not dole out. It's actually a social investment for our country. Because while we have a very young demographics by 2030, 2050, we hope that these young leaders will become really assets of the country, starting by making sure that their brain development starting now are in place. But more than feeding the hungry, which is very urgent and very doable through our Kusina ng Kalinga program. You mentioned a while ago about building that culture of caring and sharing. And that has always been the framework of GK ever since. We build communities so that they become the front base in influencing the immediate barangay or the town. So the communities themselves have a very big role in spreading hope in that particular area. In order to give more reasons or to provide opportunities for those who want to help connect with the poor, because it's physical community. And at the same time, it's a symbiotic relationship, because those who want to help will be able to help, and those who are being helped now become the frontliners in ending poverty in their area. But aside from that, building the culture of caring and sharing, what we need to do as a people is to build that culture of productivity, because we are an agricultural country. But why is it that of the 5 million poor families, 3.7 million are farmers and fisher folks? Those who feed us are the hungriest. Those who feed the nation are the poorest. Even the farmers, they tell their kids, don't go into farming, don't be like us. That's a dead end. No? So, but we believe that land is a gift from God, and the culture of productivity is also a grace that we need to rekindle. That's why in the Goodbye Gutom starts with the perspective of from a family and in the community, how can we bring back productivity by incentivizing them to at least address food augmentation, and perhaps the surplus can be traded to their neighbors or can be sold to the market. But more importantly, it's also looking at the bigger picture. So we have Bayan Anihan, where we now look at how can we improve the quality of life of our farmers, how to connect them to market, because they are the irony is our farmers and fisher folks, they carry most of the risks in food production, but they earn the smallest margin. They address climate change. They absorb the 20 typhoons per year. They absorb the losses, but their margins is many times negative. So the Goodbye Gutom is a starting point wherein we bring back love for the land, productivity, and also looking at building the quality of life for our farmers.
Donna, I wanted to, Dan, I wanted to, and Tito June, thank Tito Charlie, because we have an initiative. We found a champion here in Chicago with Tito Charlie and his friends to support that that ecosystem that you're talking about, involving K&K, seed, productivity, and establishing community farms and food farms in the rural areas or in the provinces.
Maricel, let's just
Huh?
define K&K, Kusina ng Kalinga.
Kusina ng Kalinga
Just,
is an anti...
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, some people refer to it as a feeding program. We always tell them it's not a feeding program. It's beyond a feeding program because it's really an anti-hunger program. Kasi you get the ingredients from the local farmers, tapos you educate the parents while they go bring their kids or when the mothers pick up the lunch meals, the lunches, we also educate them. Not we, but I mean GK Philippines and the K&K volunteers already educate them on nutrition, even in budgeting, how they can, so that hindi natin sila i-feed forever. 'Di ba? Parang matututo din sila mag sa sarili nilang pamilya at saka magtanim, ganon. So parang the initiative that we have now will revolve around these community farms with the help of the seed graduates that GK also USA also supports. Like Tito June was saying earlier, there were 64 scholars that we supported over the past 2 years. So maganda din yung yung nasa probinsya kasi yung mga nandun, especially yung Leyte, minsan noon ang province is almost like a place that you want to escape or not return to when you're already in Manila, when actually mas mabuti nga kung mag-return doon. So yung goodbye gutom at saka yung kusina ng Kalinga na ang purpose talaga, laging sinasabi to ni Mark, yung magpakain, magpakalusog at magtanim. So all of these initiatives or programs or elements in the program work together as a solution, a proposed solution to ending poverty. So yon, I just wanted to thank them. And then kanina you mentioned, okay, Tito, yeah.
Go ahead, Tito.
Maricel, Donna, you know what I want to share with GKUSA. I want to thank Dan, Luis, and GKCD5 Philippines. I've been a member of many organizations in the United States, but with all humility and with pride, GK's USA stands number one. I've been doing medical missions. I've been doing other organizations. Now, why am I mentioning this? Because for the last 20 years, why are we still intact, in spite that most of our donors, sponsors, and partners has not been up close and personal? The message that I'm telling GKUSA is through the knowledge, to the information of GKCD5 and the effect that GKUSA has helped. So the point I'm trying to say, very few of us are privileged and blessed to see what is really happening physically. So what I allow myself to say, I show that to them and tell them, take pride and ownership of what we are doing. I really do that. Take pride and ownership of GKUSA for the reason that this is the effect of what you guys, you may not be able to touch or hear the voices of the crying children in the military conflict, but the information that GKCD5 gives us to us being in Facebook and pictorial. So the point, Donna, Maricel, we have already established the noble mission is to encourage, inspire all of us, the donors, workers, and volunteers, to be proud and to take ownership. Really, this is your organization. This is a noble mission. And once we have established that privilege and ownership, for lack of words, I think we will continue GKUSA, even though just a few of us have been up close and personal. I think we should encourage that, Donna. Thank you.
Thank you, Tito. And then on that note, also maybe it will be good to share some numbers if Maricel or Dan have some updates on how many food packs have we distributed to people who have been out of the was it Walang Iwanan, Operation Walang Iwanan, Typhoon Odette. And then, just so people who have supported and donated would have an idea of, how much impact we've done so far. And then obviously how much more, how much help we need pa, diba? So while you gather your thoughts, let me just say hi to these people who are saying hi to us. Leonora Sadkolov is saying hello from New York. Edwin Santos says more power. Almira Astudillo Gilles, hi all. And then June Dumatay says, hi Maricel. Jules Malawi says, thank you GK USA. Hashtag caring movement, hashtag gratitude movement. Go Kuya Dan. Yan. May kanya-kanya kayong fans. All right. So Dan, any updates or any additional information or numbers you'd like to that you can share with us?
Yes, well, since we started our relief operations, we were able to distribute already about 16,000 food packs across across Visayas and also in northeastern Mindanao, Siargao, Dinagat. But more importantly, the best thing is we were able to get to know more poor families, poor communities, communities that we haven't established connection with before, because the way we do relief distributions is we look for the underserved and many times the most difficult places to go to. With the help of our volunteers on ground and our GK workers in the provinces, we are able to do that. So aside from the food packs, it really translates to the number of new relationships that we have with these different communities. We have established at least 7 command centers across the Typhoon Odette areas. We are now starting the roof rehabilitation, also with the help of GKUSA and other partners, and also local volunteers and corporations. Now, but again, aside, as I mentioned a while ago, yes, relief food packs are important. Roof repairs are important because they provide stability. But when we go around, we also hear poor families that say, can you, instead of giving me or helping me repair my roof, can you help me with to regain my productivity or bring back my livelihood? So we are also starting to build small fish ponds in Bohol, repair some fish boats in Negros and other areas, because of the limited resources. It's the role of our volunteers on ground is to be able to, with the limited resources, create more impact. But towards all of that are building up towards of strengthening their resiliency, so that if ever a calamity or a major disaster comes in their way, at least we are able to start the process of building that community resilience.
All right, thank you. So 16,000 relief packs na pala. I think we on our PR, Maricel, on the
13 pa lang nun.
13,000 pa lang. And this was just what, a couple of weeks ago. So I know you said that obviously it shouldn't stop from, I mean, that's very helpful. 16,000 is a lot.
In fact, we have, Donna, we have a partner that we will help, is working with us to distribute additional 16,000.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so thank you, partner. Not a secret partner, but thank you. Obviously, thank you to everyone who have donated and reached out and to help those, at least for the relief packs, right? Just as a start, right? So hopefully, we'll get more resources to support the productivity aspect or program, or help that people are asking also. So anything to add, Maricel?
You were asking for some numbers for Odette. We got donations of about 200,000 so far. We have remitted about 85,000, I think, and we should be remitting again Dan soon, maybe next week. Kasi there's, there's processes that we have to follow. So we wait for how they intend the Philippines uses the money before we send it out. Pero the donations are still coming in. We had, while we rely heavily on diaspora giving, kasi like kanina, it was I think Tita Luz Micabalo had indicated that they sent a donation. That's the beauty of GK, also allows us to collaborate with other organizations who want to help the Philippines, but they pick GK to implement the assistance that they want to deliver. So one of them is PACF, we have NAFA, we have professional associations, students. Our youngest one who started a personal fundraiser, you've interviewed him before, si Evan Wu. He started something for Odette. So ang dami na yung mga wedding anniversaries, birthdays, they did that. And then the Filipino Student Associations in kay Tito June, they also helped. So, but we also have foundations that who trust us, by increasing their giving. And like I said kanina, we rely on diaspora giving, but you can see the connectedness globally. One of the companies, and Dan is aware of this, that really helped us with Odette immediately was, so sorry, immediately was Synchrony. So they had an employee giving program, and the original parang goal, if you're looking for numbers, was $25,000. But within a few days, naging over 50,000 na. So, and these are employees in the US. Synchrony has branches in the Philippines, in Cebu and Alabang. And because Cebu was battered by Odette or Typhoon Rai in the US, the Synchrony employees, and these are non-Filipinos, came together, and so we are able to help not just Synchrony employees, but the areas in Cebu. Tapos ima-match pa ng Synchrony 2-1. So there are also companies here that have branches in the Philippines. So siguro they have a certain sense of affinity. One of them is FedEx. So pero sa water naman yun, di ba, Dan? So if we can find, we can establish more relationships and really build the trust among those foundations who can give, or those companies that could give here, that would really help us. Also, usually Tita Josie would ask about, the remittances, yung OFW remittances. I think it was in the papers in November, parang $32 billion ba? And then 41% came from the USA. Kaya lang wala tayong study to say of the 12 billion remittances, how many came from individuals, how many were channeled to foundations, how much of these remittances went to individuals, and then eventually to the charities that these donors, OFW, want to support. So that we cannot tell, but we're hoping that if among the remittances are funds from foundations or funds from individuals to NGOs in the Philippines, that they will trust us, trust GK USA and Gawad Kalinga in the Philippines to deliver their help. So, yon.
Thank you. Well, thank you also for mentioning corporate, partnerships or employees that are supporting, donating, and their employers matching that donation. I also want to encourage everyone to check your own company that you work for, right? See if they have benefits, if the benefit of matching your donations is included, right? If you have such benefit. Kasi ako, I don't think that I can mention the name of the company that I work for, but my company actually matches up to $25,000. So if I had $25,000, I would I would donate, so we get $50,000. So and it doesn't have to be maybe, if you work, especially the bigger corporations, right? They have matching donations, benefit that they offer to their employees. So maybe check that out. I'm actually very happy to see that GK USA is included in the list of many foundations and nonprofits that my company supports. So check that out for those people who are wanting to donate so that your donation will multiply. I know that World Financial Group also matches GK USA. That I can mention, I think. The other ones, I work with two companies. So World Financial Group, so those people who are, I share this on my Facebook page, those people who are with World Financial Group. And if you want to donate to GK USA, you can do it through WFG and then choose GK USA or GK One World Foundation. Yes, Tito Jun, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, a quick sharing with you, Donna, to GK USA. In the past 15 years now, I'm very much encouraged and inspired. Not only that I share this to Filipinos, but to my Filipino and American friends now. Last night, I had a dinner with an American friend talking about, poverty and so forth and so on, and talked to him about GK. Before our dinner ended, he handed me a $5,000 donation, no questions asked. But that was an American guy. What I'm saying to us is I think once you develop a trust and sharing to Filipinos, and Americans, we are also been very effective in the religious institution. Our pastors, parish priest. Next week, we will be presenting GK to the Knights of Columbus in Tampa. Why am I telling this? Because the volunteers, the blessing of the heart, the joy of giving is not exclusive to us Filipinos, but also to our American friends. And if we can show that to them, not even touching a nail or a wood in a shelter, but through your trust and to the mission and vision of GK, I think that will be powerful, So go on and let's march not only to the Filipino Americans or Filipinos, but also to other nationals which believe in caring and sharing and helping the poor people in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Tito Jun. We do have a lot of non-Filipino friends supporting our cause. Leonor is watching us right now too. Hi, Leonor. And hello, Claire Dolar. She says, o diba, meron akong fan. Actually, Claire who's watching right now. Thank you for tuning in, Claire. Tito Charlie says, thank you, Dan and Maricel. How about the traveling library? How is that coming along? We only have 9 minutes left. I don't know, Maricel, if you guys have time to answer that real quick.
Sige, pwede pa naman, yung next meeting namin ni Dan is happening soon. But yeah, the Maleta Library, yun yung Bayani books or hero books. That's a very important introduction. Another program. The books are about everyday heroes, triumph over adversity. Yung mga it's like a traveling library. So we bring it to communities and then it stays there for 1 to 2 months and then it moves to another community. So kaya ang tawag Maleta Library na sa isang suitcase. So the kids are again exposed to values. One of the main ways of GK to overcome poverty is to raise a new generation of children na hindi na siguro natin naabutan, but if they read this, we are hoping that you instill in them the right values of caring and sharing. So we have the Maleta Library. If it's just 100 pesos, it's a children's book written by Army Henato, and it's brought to the different villages. That's one of the ways we can help the kids. Not just we don't just bring them to the poor communities, there's also a plan to introduce them to the school. So even the privileged kids can read this. And these are real life stories of heroes na nasa GK, na nanggaling sa mga GK community. So yun yung ating Maleta Library.
Thank you, Maricel. And then one more question na lang from Tito Charlie. Maybe Dan can answer this. Are the national government and the local government helping through GK in the relief and rehabilitation? But before you answer that, very boy abunda yung pegma. Before you answer that, from John Arvin, this is a great idea. Amazon Smile is also a way to have passive donations. Yeah, I use that also. I don't buy a lot from Amazon, but we do receive, right, Maricel, some
yes,
from Amazon Smile also. And then Julian Price says, shout out to Father Bill Swengros of St. Paul Church of Tampa, Florida. We've had Father Bill on Kwentong GK also. And then we have an event to promote, FSA UCF College Summit that is happening on February 19. We'll put a link on how to register below, right, as soon as we're done here. And yes, Dan, are the national and local governments helping?
Before I answer that, I also would like to thank Amazon because they sent us about 5 million pesos for relief and rehabilitation for Typhoon Dead. It was facilitated by, I think, an employee from Cebu. And yeah, thank you, Amazon. Now, for it's more of we work closely with local government units so that we not just to avoid duplications, but also to ask for their help in leading us to the communities that need the help the most, the underserved communities. So we work closely with the local government units, especially because they have been so overwhelmed since the pandemic. So that's why they also need our help. At the same time, the national government, we work closely also with either the military or the Navy to help us transport some of these goods to the different areas. But yes, that has always been the formula of GK. And to add to the Maleta Library, very quickly,
sure.
It has become a very viral physical platform because many volunteers are copying it, which is very good because it's easy to assemble, but more importantly, it becomes a platform for storytelling, which is very important for us as a people to build that culture of caring and sharing, also to transfer or to share to the kids the things that we value, because in the social media it's so noisy, and some of our kids and youth sometimes have difficulty in filtering many of the information. That's why the storytelling mode, the physical storytelling, helps not just the kids but also the youth that tells the story. So we plug in, just like Atisel said, we are GK published books, so that we could also help not just translate or to relay values, but also highlight localized stories, local stories of heroism, different even eventually we'll have books with written in different dialects, because we have more than 1,100 or 300 dialects in the Philippines. So we hope also to become more inclusive in the conversations, in the storytelling sessions.
I love it.
And the books now are in English and Tagalog within that the book. Kaya pwede dito.
I love it how we're highlighting local stories, right? Because so many young kids would idolize or would hail, other people like as heroes, right, outside of our own, culture, and that's fine. But we also have some heroes of our own that we can talk about, or some stories of our own that we can also talk about, right? All right, awesome. So 2 minutes na lang. You're going to be late on your Zoom call. In that last 2 minutes, again, I just wanted to announce again, we're going to have the Filipino Students Association of University of Central Florida, in cooperation with Gawad Kalinga USA, is going to have an event at a college, college summit on February 19th. It's a hybrid event. You can attend in person or in venue, but there's a limit of 100 people at the University of Central Florida campus. That's in Orlando, I believe, right? Tama? Okay,
Right.
so I'm saying all of this in memory. I don't have any, wala akong cheat sheet because we couldn't pull up the poster. But okay, so it's February 19th, it's a hybrid event. You can attend in person if you're in Orlando, or if you want to fly in, you're more than welcome, but you do have to let them know that you are attending in person because there's a limit of 100 people. If you're not able to make it, you can also attend virtually, right? You can log on, you can get the link to participate and attend that event online. All of that information is included in a link that we will post on the comment below so that you can register for that event. Anything that I'm forgetting, Maricel?
No.
Okay.
Galing ng memory mo.
Hindi pa masyado mapurol. Hindi pa halatang malapit na ako maging golden girl. Okay. So thank you very much again, everyone, for joining us this evening. Last comment from Everett Ika, proud of the many programs that uplift our underprivileged communities. Thank you to all for your hard work. And then on that note, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Join us again next month for another update, another kwentuhan, another story sharing, right, from GKUSA. Good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Salamat. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Donna. Bye-bye. Thank you, Tito June.